Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. Let me now introduce you to the management participating with us in today's meet. We have with us Mr. Yogesh Malhotra, who is the CEO and whole-time director of the company. He has over 26 years of experience. Prior to joining Gravita in 2012, he served in various capacities at companies like Blue Star, Castrol, and Eurochem. We also have with us Mr. Vijay Parikh, who is the executive director and SBU head of LED. He has been with Gravita since 2012 and has a wealth of experience of over 27 years in the sales and marketing sphere. We then have with us Mr. Naveen Sharma, who is the executive director and SBU head of Aluminium. He joined Gravita in 2006 and he has over 27 years of experience of working within the mining and metals industry and with companies such as Hindalco, Pennar Aluminium, and Finolex. We also have with us Mr. Sunil Kansal with us. He is the CFO of the company, a chartered accountant by qualification. He joined Gravita in 2008 as a Deputy General Manager of Finance. He has over 23 years of experience in a gamut of activities covering all financial aspects. Now, let's begin with Mr. Yogesh Malhotra. Yogesh, if you could start, please start off by enlightening our participants about the recycling industry first off and its importance. And also then, if you could also provide a brief background about Gravita. Over to you, Yogesh.
Thank you, Anuj. Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending this meet. Let me just give you a brief overview of the recycling industry. The recycling industry is a very old industry and has been there for ages. Contrary to general belief, recycling industry, especially metal recycling, is organized and well-established one. There are many advantages of recycling. It is more cost-effective, more energy efficient, and more environmental friendly. On the other hand, availability of primary material is limited and cost of primary material is higher. And also because metal retains its properties after recycling. So no matter how many number of times you recycle, the property of any metal remains the same. So all this makes recycling a very attractive proposition. If we look at it, currently recycled raw material constitute around 30 to 40% share of all the metal that we consume today. In some cases like lead, it's even 70%. So in lead, 70% of the total material that we use, total metal that we use, comes from secondary sources only. Currently, global marketing recycling is estimated to be around $400 billion industry, and it is expected to grow by around 7 to 8% in the coming 5 years. This is about metal, but plastic is a little different issue. I mean, it has low value. I probably told you about the metal recycling industry to some extent.
Correct.
So now let me take you to the plastic industry. Actually, plastic industry, because it has low value and there are logistics issue, it has remained mostly in unorganized sector so far. The size of the plastic industry is around 50 to 60 billion USD globally. As the rates vary, recycling rates vary from around 25 to 30% in developing countries to stay around more than 95% in the Scandinavian countries and Japan. So there is huge potential that lies in the plastic recycling. And the scenario is also changing very fast. Number one, consumers are becoming more aware of the environmental issue caused by plastic waste. And the governments are also realizing the importance of plastic recycling. There is immense pressure on producers who use plastic material to consume more recycled material. Brand owners like Coke, Pepsi, Nestle, Nike, they have mandated use of up to 25% of recycled material wherever they're using plastics. We have now better technologies in segregation and recycling of plastics. And recycled plastics can now, because of these technological changes, can now replace primary plastics even at...
Yogesh, I'm sure he'll reconnect again. Let me move on to Mr. Vijay Parikh. If you could provide us insights into the lead recycling industry and where does Gravita stand in this? And with the recent changes in norms for the auto industry, what is the outlook for our lead division? Vijay Parikh, over to you, sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Anoop, for my brief introduction, and good morning to you all. I will talk about lead industry and Gravita's position. The global lead industry size is around 12.5 billion metric tons. The recycled lead contributes more than 65 to 70% out of the total lead industry. The major contributor to lead market at a global arena is China, which has a market share of more than 45%. US, Europe, Korea, and India are the other major countries. The more than 75% of global lead uses are in lead. Worldwide, more than 95% lead is being recycled. As Mr. Yogesh Malhotra explained, that we can recycle the lead n number of times without losing the properties. The recycled lead's presence are increasing day by day, and the acceptance, including the most sophisticated market like Japan and Korea, they are also increasing the recycled lead consumption. Except China, all other markets are largely dominated by the recycled lead. In case of China, the more than 40% lead is virgin lead and 60% lead is primary lead. Coming back to Indian lead industry, India is the second largest consumer in Asia after China. The Indian lead industry size is around 1.2 million metric tons, that is around 1,200,000 metric tons. Out of the total market, the 35% of lead is coming from the informal recycling sector. Although informal recycling sector exists in practically all the countries, the percentage varies from different. In case of Europe, it might be 5%, but in case of India and in Asia, it can be 25 to 35%. The formal market size in India is around 800,000 metric tons, which is around 65%. If we convert into the Indian rupees, that is around 14,000 crores, the market size is. India is a net importing country, and it is importing lead in terms of metal and in terms of scrap around 180,000 metric tons. The only primary lead producer in India is Hindustan Zinc. So if we sum up these statistics, the recycled lead market is close to 440,000 tons, which is close to 70% of the Indian lead market. The Indian secondary lead industry is highly fragmented, having more than 100 recycling companies. But 80% capacity is driven by the top 10 players of recycling. The 75% lead belongs to lead acid battery segment, and the rest goes to power cable industries, cable and pigments, and radiation protection industry. In Indian market, the major growth drivers are auto sector, telecom sector, energy sectors like UPS, those are using for energy storage devices, renewable energy sector. Then e-bike segment is coming up very fast. The economic growth, urbanization, and infrastructure growth will lead to the demand, and lead acid battery segment is expected to grow at the rate of 8% per annum. Hence the Indian lead market is expected to grow close to 10%. The major opportunities to the industry are the compliance, implementation, technological innovations. The economic growth will lead to auto sector and overall growth in lead market. The Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat smart cities developments will boost the demand in this sector. If we are coming to Gravita India, I would like to brief about Gravita's lead recycling. We are the only Indian company accredited by the International Lead Association in Asia. The International Lead Association is known for its guidance for health, safety, and environment. Our market share in Indian market is close to 10%, and more than 30% of Gravita's revenue flows from the overseas market. Major overseas markets are Middle East, Southeast Asia, followed by Europe and US. 50% of Gravita products are sold to lead acid battery segment, vis-a-vis industry is contributing to 75%. The battery segment is a highly competitive segment, and they always ask for the best of the quality product. More than 35% product of our sales are value-added products and customized alloys. We are focusing on value-added products and targeting to reach 50% progressively within the next 2 years' time. We have pan-India manufacturing locations and also in Sri Lanka and in Africa. We have 9 manufacturing locations worldwide, including 4 locations in India. The only lead recycling company in India who has pan-India manufacturing locations. Our major clients are Amara Raja, Luminous, HBL, Tata Batteries, KEI, KEC in India market. We have long-term tie-up with them and enjoying their market share ranging from 25% to 90%. Trafigura, Glencore, and Thyssen Group are the key global trading companies are associated with us. Our products are well accepted and approved in Southeast Asia, Middle East, Europe, and US market, of course, including India. We are dealing with power cable companies also in Middle East and in Southeast Asia, and this product is a niche product for us and niche market for us as well. The more than 60% sale is coming from top 10 customers. As Yogesh explained about the importance of the scrap, because in the recycling industry, the efficiency and effectiveness of collection of scrap plays a vital role. In Indian market, the 60% lead raw material is being imported from deep-rooted network in Africa and Middle East. We have tie-up with global scrap traders also. We have back-to-back recycling tie-up with Indian battery companies like Amara Raja, V-Guard, and Luminous. We have exclusive tie-up with Tata Group of companies. Tata Group of companies means it covers the 85 companies of the Tata Group, where we will be collecting scrap batteries from their various locations. We are sourcing from institutional buyers like telecom tower companies, ATC, Indus Towers, companies like Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, Accenture. Then we are collecting scrap batteries from banks, hotels, and hospitals. The waste management policy and vehicle scrap policy, which Government of India is going to implement very soon, will be the game changer for the entire Indian lead recycling market. Progressively, we are targeting to reach more than 80% raw material collection from India market for our Indian manufacturing plants. The opportunities for the Gravita are, we are positioned as the largest recycling company in India. We have plants in southern part of India, northern part of India, western part of India, and central part of India. And the plant locations brings the logistic benefits to our customers. We are the only company in India who has the end-to-end solution providers in recycling space. We have high level of environment compliances and the only company who has the IL accreditation. We are the preferred choice of our vendors and well accepted in key OEMs. Our market share with our OEMs are increasing year by year. We have widest product range in our product basket and catering to the most diversified segments like battery industries, power cables, chemicals and pigments, radiation protection, and construction industry. The operational efficiency and fiscal discipline are an added advantage to us. The biggest opportunity for Gravita will be the implementation of waste management policy and vehicle scrap policy, where formal recycling segment is expected to reach from 75% to 90%. We have our overseas operations. The 30% capacities is located out of India. Countries like Ghana, Tanzania, Senegal, Mozambique, and Sri Lanka. We are catering to Korean and European market from these locations. We are associated with United Nations Environment Program in Senegal. And Ghana is also expected to be ILA accreditation very soon. Finally, I would like to summarize the Gravita India is in a leading position to capitalize various opportunities available in India market and international market. The global clientele and manufacturing footprints will be an added advantage to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijayji. Yogesh, if we could go back to you, I think unfortunately we lost you. If you could restart with the plastic section for the purpose of the viewers again.
Thank you, Anuji. Sorry for the interruption. I think probably we'll have some uninterrupted time now. So I was talking about the plastic because of low value and logistics issue. Plastic recycling has remained mostly an unorganized sector. Uh, uh, the industry size would be around 50 to 60 billion USD globally. The recycling rates vary from a lowly 25-30% in developing countries to more than 95% in the Scandinavian countries and Japan. But this scenario is also changing very fast. I mean, like consumers are becoming more aware of the environmental issues caused by plastic waste. Governments are also realizing the importance of plastic recycling. There is huge pressure on producers who use plastic material to consume more recycled material. Brand owners like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, Nike, Adidas, they are mandating use of up to 25% recycled plastic material in their products and packaging. We now have better technologies both in segregation and recycling of plastics. The recycled plastics can now replace primary plastics even at crucial applications, which was not the case some years ago. So we foresee substantial opportunities in plastic recycling. Even in India, we are witnessing a change in the way recycling has been done so far. The government have brought in new policies like BMHR for battery handling, which is directing battery manufacturers to collect used battery scrap from the markets and get it recycled. So they're putting the onus on the battery manufacturer. Similarly, for EPR or plastic recycling, the government has started putting the owners of collection and recycling of plastic waste based on the brand owners. There are other policies like end of life policy for vehicles. All these coupled with the GST regime, which is bringing in more unorganized businesses into the organized sector. Recycling industry we expect would grow by double-digit figures in the coming 3 to 5 years. And Gravita's presence pan-India would give us a unique opportunity to exploit all this. So which brings me to what Gravita is. Let me just give you a brief about Gravita. We are a true recycling company. We have global footprints. Incorporated in 1992 in Jaipur, Gravita is one of India's largest non-ferrous metal recyclers and India's largest secondary lead metal producing company. We recycle lead acid batteries, we recycle lead scrap, aluminium scrap, plastic scrap at various locations across the globe. In addition, we also give turnkey solutions to recycling industry and supplied more than 60 recycling projects across the globe. We started our overseas ventures in 2000 when we set up a lead recycling unit in Sri Lanka. There is a restriction of movement of lead acid batteries across borders. So we decided to expand our operations based out of Asia and set up a lead recycling plant in Ghana in 2006. This was followed by a lead recycling unit in Senegal, Mozambique, Ethiopia, Georgia in the following years. Gravita went public in 2010 and got listed on both BSE and NSE. Then looking at the synergies of scrap metal sourcing, which we believe is the biggest enabler or barrier in recycling industry, we diversified business operations and started aluminium and plastic recycling in year 2016-17 by setting up plastic recycling in Nicaragua and aluminium recycling in India. Today, we have 13 strategically located recycling facilities in Asia, Africa, and Central America, with a combined installed capacity of 170,000 metric ton per annum, out of which 120,000 metric ton per annum is for lead, 90,000 metric ton per annum is for aluminium, and approximately 26,000 metric ton per annum is for plastics. Our global operations enable us to cater to all major markets in the US, Europe, and Asia. And our pan-India operations gives us an edge in servicing this industry in India very efficiently. Not only this, Gravita also has unique, deep-rooted and extensive global scrap collection networks spread across 4 continents and over 20 countries, which helps us to collect scrap globally at very competitive prices. Last year, we achieved a top line of around 1,340 crores and a PAT of 33 crores. We have been growing consistently at a CAGR of 20% for the past 5 years in revenue terms. And we expect similar growth numbers in the coming years as well. So that's about the industry and the company. Anujji, back to you.
Sure. Thank you, Yogesh-ji. So, now if I could move on to Mr. Naveen Sharma-ji, if you could give us some insights into the aluminium recycling industry, that would be very helpful. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Anuj-ji, and welcome all participants in today's presentation from Gravita and Mr. Anuj Sonpal's team. So about aluminium, aluminium is known as a green metal, and the overall world consumption is around 19 million, out of which 30% is recycled aluminium, and out of this 60% is cast aluminium and 40% is wrought aluminium. Wrought aluminium here means sheets, extrusions, and cast means all type of casting. So we are into secondary aluminium casting space. So if we talk about Indian scenario, India consumption of per capita consumption of aluminium is only 2.7 kg per capita, and that too also in a sector where recycling aluminium is available for a longer period. Means Indian consumption is mainly electrical sector. Then the next is building, and then comes auto, and last comes packaging. So India is net importer of secondary scrap because it does not generate much of scrap, and this scrap India is importing around 1.2 million tons of scrap per annum, and own generation is hardly 100,000 tons, out of which also 65,000, 70,000 tons is through post-industrial, and post-consumer scrap is only 40,000 tons. So out of this 1.2 million tons of imported scrap in India, 80% goes for auto sector, casting, recycling, and rest go for wrought, making extrusions and sheets. So if we talk about Indian auto market, which is growing and it is touching the 4th position in the world, so the demand of secondary aluminium cast aluminium will keep increasing, though there was a slowdown in last 1 year, but after opening of lockdown and BS6 vehicles are coming and the more demand from two-wheeler sectors, this cast aluminum will further be in demand in time to come, and India will remain dependent on the import of cast scrap from overseas, and the available market mainly from you can say Europe and US, because their per capita consumption is higher. Third market from where India can import is African market, because reason being they are not producing any vehicles. They import vehicles from Far East or European market after their life of 10 to 15 years. So the available life further is only 5 to 7 years. So they also generate vehicle scrap. So until India has its own vehicle scrap policy, India will remain dependent on the imported scrap to produce cast alloy. If we talk about our scenario, we are having one unit in India where we are making cast alloy at Jaipur. India has 3 main markets. One is NCR region near Gurgaon, Manesar, where auto sector is there. Second is near Pune, and third is South. So all manufacturers are generally segregated and catering near to these units. So one market is Delhi NCR. We are mainly catering to this market from Jaipur. Another market is South market, and third was West market near Pune and all. So currently we have one unit at Jaipur where we are using imported scrap and catering to northern market. This market, the segment is like this. First is OEM, direct OEM, which are Maruti in 4-wheelers, and Honda and Hero in 2-wheelers, and Bajaj, of course. And then comes their OE, and their another segment is FMCG. They also use some of the casting. So as of now, we are supplying mainly to tier 2 OEM for casting from our Indian plant. Apart from India, we have started our cast aluminum manufacturing in Tanzania, and partly we are also doing recycling at Mozambique. So of late, there is a policy change in China because of trade war between US and China. China has stopped importing, rather they have put some quota and importation of scrap. So this US scrap, which was mainly going to China, is now routing through India or other Far East countries like Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia. And this alloy is going to China in alloy form, not directly into scrap form. So after a gap of 8 to 10 years, India has started exporting aluminum alloy since last October. And we are seeing almost 250,000 tons of export is expected during entire year of cast alloy from India to China, and their demand is still higher. So our overseas unit, Tanzania, is 100% exporting to China, and India also we are exporting almost 80% because the Indian auto sector has not opened up fully, particular North market in last 3 months. So entire Q1 we have also exported to China, and we see a good growth because our baseline is not that big as of now. So we foresee a good growth of at least 15 to 20% over a period of time at our Indian location as well as from our African location for exporting of aluminum alloy to Far East as well as to China. And once Indian market open up, certainly we will see where we have a price advantage. We'll keep supplying to domestic market as well. And in future, as soon we have vehicle scrappage policy coming in, we foresee that we have already a manufacturing setup in India, so we'll be able to take that particular advantage. And the other sector which I foresee that consumption should go up in packaging and food packaging and general packaging in India, which will also generate the other grade of scrap where we can play a role and make those types of alloy also, which will again reuse for making aluminum cans and packaging material.
Great, Navinji. Thank you so much for that elaborate explanation. Now, if I could move on back to Yogeshji. Yogeshji, if I could request you to brief us on the company's client profile as well as positioning strategy versus other domestic and global competitors, if you could take that over. Yogeshji, do we have you? Yogeshji, you'll have to unmute, please. Sorry, you're on mute. Yeah, there you go, please.
Yeah, I have unmuted, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Yogeshji.
So, in terms of our client profile, we are catering to, I mean, as we mentioned that we are available globally, so we are catering to all the global clients. In terms of lead, as Vijayji has already mentioned, that we are catering to battery manufacturers like Amara Raja, Luminous in India, KEI, KECs, all the big names in global levels. We are catering to Trafigura, Glencore, and Thyssen Electric. So all the global names are in our client list because we are one of the very few companies who are in the organized sector and all are also globally present in all the continents actually. In terms of plastic also, we are catering to all the big names, Indorama, Octal, which are the largest producers of lead sheets in the world. And Indorama, as you know, is one of the largest in PET resin manufacturers. So the client list that we have constitute mainly of principals because we want to go directly to the principals to improve our margins. But at the same time, 50 to 60% of the client list is also, 40 to 50% also goes to the traders. Strategically, as we have already mentioned that in India we are available in all the 4 sectors. all the four regions actually. So whether it is North India, South India, Central India, and then West India, we have plants all over. So which makes us very strategically located for all the principles which require collection also, as well as supply also to different factories at different areas in India as well as overseas as well. So, I mean, this makes Gravita very unique in terms of how we can cater to the customers.
Sure, Yogeshji, thank you so much for that. Kansal, now before I go to the questions from the participants, Kansalji, one question for you. So the company.
Hello, am I audible? I think.
Yes, thank you, Yogeshji. Let's mute. We got the answer. Kansalji, are you able to hear me?
Yeah. Good morning to you. Good morning to all the participants.
So, Kansalji, if you could, tell me, the company's revenue CAGR for the last 3 to 5 years has been more than 25%. Last year, in FY20, we witnessed a slowdown slightly of sorts, where we grew about by 9-10%. So what was the reason for this, and also what is the future growth outlook, especially considering the current COVID-19 pandemic that is going on? Secondly, if I could also ask you, we've had volatile margins in the last few years, but they have improved considerably in the last financial year. So if you could also educate our investors participating today, what was the primary drivers for these volatilities, and are these margins sustainable now for the long run? Over to you, Kansal.
Yeah, sure, Anuj. Actually, we are regularly increasing the capacity in India and overseas, which is the main driving factor for revenue CAGR of 25% plus in last 3-4 years. Along with this, we are also continuously working on expanding the scrap collection network in India and overseas, where we are collecting the scrap from various sources in India, like various top corporates, telecom companies, bank institutions, and in overseas we are also collecting mainly from Africa, Middle East. So this has basically scrap collection is the key thing in this business. So that is supporting us in improving our revenue growth. Specifically, if we talk about the last year, where the volume growth was 18%, but definitely because of the market metal prices reduced by 10%, so hence revenue growth overall was relatively lower. But in the coming years, we are targeting a volume growth of 20 to 25% continuously year on year, except the current year where we are expecting, because of this COVID issue, last 2 months were slightly on a bad side. So we are expecting a growth of up to 10%, 0 to 10% in volume numbers. So, and coming to your question regarding the margin volatility, as we are buying the scrap and selling the finished goods on the basis of the prevailing lead prices, which is the lead LME of the lead. Scrap is bought on the discount on LME, and metal is sold on the premium to LME. So LME prices are highly volatile, and this volatility was affecting our margins as we were not fully hedged for our metal prices. We started hedging the buying and selling of the metal from June 18 onwards, where on the date of the purchase itself of the scrap, we lock the price of the finished good also by selling either to the customer or LME forward contract on back-to-back basis. So consequently, locking the margins on the day of the scrap purchase. So other than this, we also keep some buffer inventory in the plants, which was also creating volatility in the margins, which with the changing metal prices. In order to avoid this volatility also, we started hedging of inventory from June 19 onwards, where we are, after which we can say now we are fully hedged for the inventory and buying and selling both. So now our margins are range bound, depending upon it is in the range of 7 to 8%, we can say, slightly improving due to some higher volumes. As soon as we are doing some higher volumes, so it is slightly improving, and value-added products are also helping us. So we are also increasing regularly the share of the value-added products, which is the chemical, which is the alloys and some red lead or lead sheets. So, and slightly we are also improving better operational efficiency, like recovery from the scrap, and process cost improvement. So overall, these are the factors which is helping us to improve our margin from earlier 7 to 8% to in future next 2 to 3 years to 8 to 9%.
Thanks, Kansalji. So my next question, before I move on to the participants again, Yogeshji, I'm not sure if you are there, but maybe Vijayji and Kansalji, you could take over this question. So scrap collection, and this question comes from a participant as well, and it was going to be my next question. So can you actually brief us about the scrap collection network? Because I think that's core to your business. So if you could, I think we have Yogeshji also. So if you all could actually brief us a little bit on, what is our strength out here? What is our collection network globally, as well as in India? Vijayji, Yogeshji, any of you all?
Yeah. As Yogeshji explained and Sunilji also explained, that scrap is a very key component for us in recycling. The high point of Gravita is that we are having deep rooted recycling scrap collection network in Africa. We are having more than 20 scrap collection yards in Africa in different corners of Africa, and we are having our team placed in these locations, those who are collecting the scrap. And after collection of the scrap, first of all, they are supplying this scrap to closest our recycling unit, and whatever excess collection available, then they are sending to Indian market. In case of India market, we are working with all institutions like telecom companies, like infotech companies, banks, hospitals. We are also working with the battery companies like Amara Raja, Luminous, HBL for back-to-back collection of their scrap. We are also having long-term tie-up, exclusive tie-up with Tata Group of the companies that we recently concluded. In this case, we will be collecting the scrap from their different units. And similarly, we are also in discussions with another global clients where we are having exclusive tie-ups for collection of the scrap. In Indian operations, presently 60% of scrap we are importing from African locations. And we are also having global tie-up with the global traders. In times to come, and thanks to Government of India for implementation of waste management policy and scrap vehicle scrap policy, where the availability of scrap to the formal sector will be more and more. So we will be getting the major benefit out of this, and we are targeting that at least more than 90% of scrap for Indian plants should be collected indigenously, and then the rest of the scrap we may be importing from overseas locations. Sunilji, if you want to add anything else, you are most welcome.
Great. So, that was very helpful. So now, I will take some questions from the participants also. There were some pre-requested questions in the registration forms. And if anyone has more questions, please feel free to ask them on the Q&A button. And I will ask the same to the management. So we already have a few questions here. And I will, slowly ask them to the management. I think the first question comes is how do we manage volatility in these commodity prices? So I think, the question is, when you're buying to when you're selling, there is obviously changes in the pricing that happens. So obviously we explained the hedging policy. Would you like to add anything else on that, Sunilji or Vijayji, or any of the management?
Yeah. So
go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So basically, because the metal prices are changing frequently. So as we discussed that we are buying and selling the finished goods on the basis of the prevailing metal prices. And so it is always preferable to hedge it on the day one when we are buying the scrap, because there is a time gap of approximately 2 months from the date of the buying and selling of the finished goods, because we are importing the scrap from various countries to India. So this time gap is always a risk for our volatility and avoiding the risk of changing the metal prices and impact on the margins. So on the day one, whenever we buy the scrap at any location, so we on the equivalent metal content of that scrap is sold off on the same day to either to the customer or to the LME as a forward contract. So it means on the day of the purchase itself, we lock the margin of that particular scrap, whichever we bought. So this helps us locking the margin on day-to-day basis. So and this protects us from the impact of volatility in the margin itself.
Good, sir. I think that's helpful. So we have a question from Mr. Manish Dhariwal in Q&A section. What is Gravita's key competitive strengths and what are the key entry barriers? Mr. Yogesh, would you like to take that?
So in terms of key strengths, as we mentioned that, first of all, we are one of the very few companies that are present globally. So we have got a very good supply chain availability for us. Our sourcing of raw material, as I mentioned earlier also, that it is the major barrier currently in recycling industry. If you can source good raw material at right prices, you are the king. So we have our presence in more than 20 countries in terms of procurement yards, directly or indirectly. We buy from the last mile. I mean, we go to the last mile to collect this material from the market. So that is one of the major advantages. The second advantage is the operational facilities that we have. We are present in West Africa, from where we can very conveniently supply to the European market. We are present in Central America, from where we have the American markets, which we can very easily supply. In India, we are the only company that is present in all the 4 regions. So we can collect the batteries on behalf of our principals and we can supply them from the nearest plant. So these logistic advantages that Gravita has got us is another good thing. And then we are the company that is into technology. So we bring in new technology every day, because we are also manufacturing those products. We know what are the problems that is coming. So that is why, as Vijayji also mentioned, that we have the largest variety of material available. We also give value-added products.
We lost Yogeshji's network. Kansalji, do you want to take over?
Yeah.
Or Naveen?
Just
please
adding to what Yogeshji was explaining. So basically, it's a strength, or you can say the entry barrier for anybody else is the combination of making of equipment to making a collection of scrap to selling of the finished goods to the largest, highest customer, highest level of customer, which is very, very conscious for the quality also. So that combination is very unique in Gravita, and that's also the key entry barrier for anybody else could be the scrap collection network, which we have created in last 14-15 years. So that is the major strength for Gravita, because we are also making the equipment for ourselves. So expansion of the business in many countries, so over a period of time, it's very important for you to have the capex at a lower cost as compared to others. So that strength we also have, making of the equipment at our own, which is very key factor for us.
Could you elaborate on that? Actually, I don't think we spoke about the turnkey solutions. Could you tell us a little bit about, tell the viewers a little bit about the turnkey solutions that the company offers?
Yeah, turnkey solution is the basically division for us, which is making the equipments for recycling, and we are supplying. Last 12 years, we are supplying the equipments to more than 60 countries. We have established the recycling plants, and so we supply the equipment. We give them the training. We handhold for the for manufacturing consultancy. Also, sometimes we give for recycling. So this helps us internally also in terms of our capex is low, because the capex is only for equipment. The capex is only the metal cost for us, and we have our own team of engineers who day and night they are designing the equipments. And this division also helps us in improving the technology. Like the equipment we have designed is a battery hydro separation system, which was costing very high in the international market, and we designed this equipment at our own. We are using this equipment, and now we are selling the equipment also. So this helps in both way, improving our technology, improving the efficiency also, automation also, and reducing our capex. And other than this, it's a independent business also. So we are selling the equipments also.
Great.
So
go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the better advantages is that the technology that we make is viable even for smaller plants. Generally, the European or the Chinese technology that is there is not viable if the size of the plant is for lower volumes. Whereas what we have developed is even viable if there is around 500 to 1,000 tons of battery also. That is why we've been able to expand our operations into various countries where it was earlier not viable to put up a plant. So that advantage is also there for us.
Got it, sir. So, one other question from the participants is, so since our company's market share is about 10%, who are the other major players in this industry, whether in India or globally? Your competitors, if you could tell us about. So let's name a few.
As I explained you in my presentation, this is a basically scattered market, highly fragmented market. But other key players are Pondy Oxide, which is also a listed company. Then Nile India, it's also a listed company. And some other companies, but those are the regional companies. Some companies has a presence in southern market, some companies has a presence in western market, some companies has a presence in northern market. In case of global arena, Ecobat is one of the largest recycling company based in Europe. And in Korea, it's a company named Shangxing, that is a big company. This is as good as Gravita. But if we club together the entire position of the Gravita has their position in close to the European market also, where we have the plant in Africa. We have plant in Sri Lanka also, and 4 locations in India. So in global competitiveness, Gravita India has an added advantage on that. As far as capacity part of that, around 30%, as I explained to you, it comes from informal sector in India market, and 70% from formal sector. So in formal sector also, there are many companies, those are namesake, they are the formal, but some of the companies or the major companies are working in informal way.
Great, sir. So moving on, what is, if you could maybe consult, if you could tell us, what is the share of our, or Vijayji, what is the share of our value-added products in overall revenue? And what is the value add done is a question that's coming. And what are the operating margins on these value-added products?
We have around 35% of our revenue from value-added products and customized alloys. We are supplying our value-added products to diversified industries like chemicals and pigments, battery industry, cable industry, radiation protection industry, and construction industry. If you see the margin part, on an average, Gravita products margins are in range of around 7 to 8%. The margins of valued products are around 5 to 6% higher than these products. So close to around 12 to 13% margin in valued products.
Okay, sir. So one question is, what are the key risks the management sees in scrap collection, as well as what is the environmental impact of scrap recycling? If you could educate us on that.
In case of, if we consider the risk part for the scrap collection, one is the competition. In case of India, it's a highly fragmented industry. So the competition, and more environment compliance or commercial compliances, it is cost to the industry. Environment compliance means the company should have the highest compliance of India with respect to the minimum contamination to soil, water, and air, and disposal of the waste products to the right locations. So higher the compliant company will, the cost of operations will be the higher. And in that case, in many of the cases, the competitiveness as far as margins are concerned, that might be lower. But the implementation of waste management policy will ensure that it will be the level playing field. So that the risk mitigation will be once we are at the level playing field, and since we are in field of making the best of the equipment for the recycling industry, we are looking our position as that last man standing. Very simple is that if entire recycling industry going to collapse, then we will be the last person to getting collapsed. So this is the position where we are in as far as scrap collection is concerned. And the way we are associated with the Tata group of the companies and best of the infotech companies and to the battery companies, we are pretty sure that we will be getting preference over others, because these are the companies, those are concerned about the environment, these are the concerned about the CSR. So we are educating on all these fronts that how the hazardous scrap this is. So it should be available to the right hands. So this is the way we are able to mitigate our risk.
Just a follow up on that is, can you actually shed some more light on the environmental hazards in lead recycling?
Yeah, if you go back to around 5 to 7 years back, when informal recycling sector was close to 50%, that means in any corners, the lead acid batteries are available, so recycling was happening there. Whether it's a good point or it's a bad point, the lead has a melting point is close to 300-degree temperature, so it can melt very easily. Even if you fire the wood, this lead can be melted. So it is very easy to recycle lead. But if you more and more informal way, or if you are not taking the proper environment precautions, the possibility of contaminating the soil, contaminating the water, contaminating to air, its possibility is more and more. Like all lead acid batteries are having the lead. So this electrolyte part, many of the battery users, they are disposing this electrolyte very close to their drainage yards, the drainage systems. So this is the major risk. And in past 5 to 7 years, the government of India has increased the awareness about this. The many NGOs are working into this direction, and international lead associations also we are working. They are also increasing the awareness. In fact, Gravita India's major agenda is that we are also increasing awareness to different corners. And since our presence in Pan India, so all the plants we are every month or every quarter, we are having campaign for increasing the awareness about recycling of the lead. So this is the way people are getting aware, and the batteries are going to right hands for recycling.
Thanks, Vijayji. Vijayji, another follow-up question. This is coming by Anand Jain from the Q&A platform. Basically, can you tell us, and this is a very interesting aspect, right? Because with the new age hybrid cars, can you highlight the impact of the move from lead acid to other forms of battery like lithium ion? So what are you worried about that? If that happens, what happens to our business? If you could shed some light on that.
Can I answer this question?
Yeah, Yogesh.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So definitely lithium-ion batteries is the next big thing that we are expecting, and hopefully very soon we will see electric vehicles in India also. It has already started coming in, but let me just explain a little bit of difference. Whereas the lithium-ion battery is used as traction batteries in car, which means that they are replacing the engines. The lead-acid battery will still be there, as it is the SLI, or starting, lighting, and ignition battery. So in every electric vehicle, you will find lead-acid battery also there. So it is not going to eat the share of lead-acid battery. In fact, at least for the automobile industry, it is still going to be there. If anything, it is going to bring in new opportunities for Gravita, because we are enjoying very healthy relationship with our principals, with all the battery manufacturing companies. We expect a similar relationship even when recycling of lithium-ion batteries come into picture. And realizing this, we are also in discussions with many technology providers and are assessing different options that would include lithium-ion as another segment at an opportune time. I mean, similar to the way we've added plastics and aluminium. But having said that, there is still a big time gap, in the sense that the life of lithium-ion batteries would be around 7 to 8 years minimum. So even if mass production of electric vehicles start today, it will take 7 years for the lithium-ion batteries to come back into the recycling market. So there is still time left for this thing to happen. But whenever that time comes, we will definitely be there in recycling of batteries.
Thank you, Yogesh. Kansalji, I'll move on to you for a few financial related questions. So can you elaborate on the working capital cycle and also the debt numbers? This question is from Rahul Maipala in the Q&A session. Go ahead, sir, Kansalji. Please unmute, actually. Sir, you'll have to unmute. Go ahead, sir.
So we have, as we are importing the scrap, as we discussed that we are importing the scrap for Indian plants. So we have, due to this import of scrap, which is paid on the day one when we go and collect the scrap at the zero location. So, and from that location, it is shipped to the port, and then from port to it is traveling to Indian port. And from Indian port, it is traveling to our own manufacturing plant. So this takes approximately 45 to 60 days in transit. This is causing, higher working capital cycle for us, which is close to 85 days. And gradually, we are seeing, as we discussed, that India is changing, and Indian scraps are moving to unorganized sector, from unorganized sector to organized sector. So this is going to a big change for us, and we are expecting more and more scraps. So ideal situation for us is that whatever scraps is available outside India, which is cheaper than Indian scrap, should be used outside India, and for Indian plants, we should be dependent on the Indian scrap. So ideally, this will help us in reducing the working capital cycle, which is quite long as of now. And in next 2 years, with the implementation of all these policies, which is coming up now, and availability of the Indian scrap for Indian plants, so we should be reducing this 80-85 days to 50-55 days. With the corresponding decrease in the debt also, which is also a concern for us, which is the mainly working capital debt for us. So, and this will also bring up the logistic cost saving, because as we are moving the scrap from overseas to India, this is also costing us logistics. So this is a big change for us in next 2 to 3 years, where the working capital cycle will be reduced to approximately 30-35 days.
Okay, Kansalji, thank you. Couple more financial questions. This is coming from Vaibhav Bajatia in the chat. So in March 2020 con call, management stated that the annual, not monthly, LME hedging cost of 0.6% per annum, which seems to be very low given the volatility in the LME index. If that cost is true, then counterparty to our hedges will be losing money. Can you please explain if his understanding is correct? Can you clarify this?
Yeah, because hedging cost, the hedging has two parts. One is the back-to-back hedging. So what we do, as we discussed, that we we are not only hedging with the LME exchange, it is hedging of the selling of the finished goods against that scrap we bought. So it is, we have the long-term contracts with the customers, so which says that we can price them today and we can supply them in next 1 or 2 months. So that long-term contract help us in hedging of the metal prices, because the day when we buy the scrap, against that against the contract of the customer, we price them upfront. So, and the delivery can happen when the material is available at our location. So that way, it's not hedging on the exchange itself. So sometimes when we don't have the customer contract in hand, or we are waiting for some customer contract, so for that temporary period, we go and take the forward contract, selling contract on the LME. So that is costing us very minimal cost for us. And that is for a very temporary period of say 7 days, 10 days, 15 days. So that is costing 0.2, 0.3, 0.4% per annum.
Got it. So there's a follow-up from him only there. What is the most important single factor for long-term margin per ton trend for the company? Is it plant locations apart from LME trading hedging? Is it something else?
So there are 2-3 things for protection of the margin. So on a long-term basis, one is of course because we are operating in so many geographies. So we source the scrap, and the scraps cost is basically blended cost of all these locations. So sometimes we source it at 55% discount on LME. Sometimes we source it at 50% discount on LME. So this is the blending of the scrap which we are sourcing globally is an important factor for us. Of course, hedging is one factor. And the second, so it's a margin protection is a blending of buying and selling also, because we are selling the value-added products. So blending of the value-added products versus the standard product is also a factor for us to maintain the margin or improve the margin.
Thank you, sir.
And if I may include that the advantages of having global presence, we can reduce the logistics cost also and can supply to our customers with the minimum logistics cost. That also saves us and our customers also to a large extent. So that is another positive point.
Sure. So, so next question is from Rahul Mahipal. What's the capex plans? If any, this year?
Yeah, because this year, last year we established 2 new plants, one in Tanzania, one in Ghana. So we are just optimizing the overall capacity utilization of the company. Hence, we will only do this maintenance capex along with the small capex with payback period of say 10 to 12 months in this year. Total should not be more than 20 to 25 crores. But in the coming year, we may plan for another 1 or 2 plants, recycling plants in India and overseas, or in India or overseas, depending upon the scrap availability, because that we are going to ensure. But whatever capex we are targeting, it is in the range of 30 to 40 crores in next 2 to 3 years. We are exploring the strategic location in India and overseas as well, with the payback period of not more than 3 years.
Sure. The next question is coming from Manish Chopra. Many companies are looking for cost-cutting measures in this difficult time. So do you think our customers like Amara Raja will backward integrate into lead recycling to save their costs? Is this a threat to us? Yogesh, if you want to take that. Vijayji, Yogesh.
Yeah, Anup, let me reply on that.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, in fact, lead recycling and lead battery, these are the 2 complements to each other. But many of the companies, they don't want to get dirty their hands. If we go back to around 2 to 3 years back, Johnson Control was the largest battery company in the world, but they were not having any of the recycling plant. Rather than they were having that tie-up with the recycling companies. So those recycling companies were getting the recycling of the used batteries on their behalf. Similarly, we are also working with the Amara Raja. our presence in Pan India, like say, all the corners of the India, 4 plants. So we are collecting their batteries from the different corners and we are recycling them. And whatever lead we are recovering, we are supplying them from closest plant, like in Chittoor. Our Chittoor plant is our Chittoor plant is hardly 40 kilometers from their plant. So we are already giving them the best competitiveness. In case Amara decides for any kind of recycling, even then, like their scrap might be available in northern part of the India or eastern part of India or in western part of India, we will be able to recycle that scrap more in competitive manner. See
Great,
the
sir.
see the market share for company is hardly 10%. Still 90% is left out. 30% is the informal sector. So enough market is available. As Sunilji has explained that we are able to utilize around 70% of our capacity. So 30% capacity also available. So we are expecting that capacity is available, market is available. So we are having enough share to chew with us.
So a question, a follow-up, Vijayji, for you only is what decides the scrap pricing or any of the other management? That's coming from Suhas Naikji.
Yeah. In case of like there are different kind of the batteries. All companies are making different kind of the batteries, like UPS batteries, automobile batteries, then telecom tower batteries, the two-wheeler batteries. So basically, the lead content available in those batteries decides the price of the batteries. Similarly, different kind of scraps are available into the market. So our procurement team, our procurement network, they are well qualified to make an estimate or guesstimate of that scrap available, that how much lead content will be there. So we are able to finalize the prices on lead content available. Index factor is, of course, LME, and nowadays MCX is also available in the Indian market. So based on that, we are deciding the pricing.
Thank you, Vijayji. We only have a few minutes left. Just a few final questions. Yogeshi, maybe I'll ask you this. These are questions from Mr. Rajiv Agarwal and Vivek Bhargava. So what are the new areas of around recycling? Is the company looking to recycle any new products like mobile and electronic goods? If you could answer that first, Yogeshi.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier also, that we are also looking at lithium-ion battery recycling. We are talking to the technology providers for that. Apart from that, we are also looking at electronic waste recycling. Incidentally, the technology for lithium-ion battery recycling and electronic waste recycling are quite similar. So whenever we are finalizing one technology, we'll ensure that it is working for both kind of scrap. Apart from that, we are also looking at paper recycling and tire recycling. So anything to do with recycling, we definitely want to be a part of it. And as we already have locational advantages, we have presence in many locations. So adding another segment is not a big deal for us. I mean, in fact, it will only bring in synergies of scale to us.
So what do you think over the next 5 years, the business mix will look like, at least between lead, aluminum and plastic, and maybe new products? If you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, I think currently we are having a 85% share of lead for our businesses, and 15% is for the balance. We see that others would chip in more, and in another 3 to 5 years, we see that plastic and aluminium contribute to around 30% of the total business, and the balance 70% coming from lead.
Great, Yogeshi. We have run out of time. Unfortunately, I still have a lot of unanswered questions, but I'm going to ask you one final question, which is a very interesting question from Mr. Sunil Shah. What is the rationale for having a company name like Gravita? Just want to understand the core thinking of the company. So any of the managements want to take that?
So Gravita basically comes from gravity, because lead is a very heavy metal. So, and also gravitas means seriousness. So we are very serious about our recycling business. So it probably combines to bring a name like Gravita.
Fantastic, sir. Unfortunately, we have about 5-6 questions that have not been answered. For those participants, I request you all to just get in touch with us. We'd be happy to answer these questions. I've not asked them because we do have answers for most of them. Management, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you for enlightening us and educating our participants today. And for the viewers, thank you all for participating. Our next session will begin in 15 minutes. Yogesh, would you like to say any closing comments, please?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Anuj, for having us, and thank you everyone for participating for this meet. And if there are any other questions, we can take it offline also through Anuj in future. Thank you very much for having us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, management. Thank you, everybody. We'll begin the next session in 15 minutes. Management, you all can log off now. Thank you.